On today's episode of the 1% Podcast, we have Eric Cafferty joining us. Eric is the owner of the Mecca Gym here in Meridian, Idaho. Eric is going to talk to us about his journey through entrepreneurship, through starting out a business with no money, with very little experience, and getting into starting a business himself at 24 years old. We're going to talk about the journey through entrepreneurship and what that's looked like as his company has continued to grow and scale over the years. We'll talk about leadership, growing a team, building out a team, delegating responsibilities. So if you are someone that's interested in buying a business, owning a business, or scaling a business, this is a podcast episode you definitely want to listen to.
What we do is unique in a way because we are so focused on each and every individual and their own journey to success. You know, we draw people into us because we're passionate about what we do. And that really, really separates us from the rest of the pack, right? You know, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, like you have to understand who you are and what you sell better than anything. Yep.
Eric Cafferty, welcome to the podcast.
What's up, brother?
Glad to have you.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me.
I came on your podcast a few years ago. In fact, it was fun. Someone sent it to me the other day, and I was like, I need to go listen to that again. And so appreciate you coming on and us getting to have some of your time to hear a little bit about your story. I think that your story is unique in a lot of ways, but in others, it's kind of the American dream of entrepreneurship and how you started a business and basically starting from ground zero. And so I think there's a lot of value, hopefully for a lot of our listeners, to be able to see what you went through and how you started and kind of showing a path of how people get started in business. So
yeah, man. Thanks for having me. This
is
awesome. You did it up right.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So let's just jump in. I like kind of spend the first few minutes getting to know our guests and for people to kind of get to know you and understand your background and where you're from. And so talk about your family growing up, dynamics, where you grew up, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I grew up here in Boise, born and raised. And then I grew up with two older sisters, half sisters. So my mom had been married previously, divorced, met my dad, got married, had a baby. Very, very typical, like, you know, American family in that regard. And growing up was awesome with two older sisters. They were 7 and 11 years older than me. And they were great. You know, the middle sister and I like butted heads big time, always fighting, all that stuff, like totally typical family stuff.
Yeah.
But I kind of had a unique experience with family life growing up just because they were quite a bit older than I was. So I was like the baby of the family. But also they moved out, they were off to college doing their own thing. So I kind of got a lot of my own time as well. So I spent a lot of time with my dad growing up, you know, on the weekends. Every weekend we had something to do, whether that be go and, you know, help my uncles build a barn or, you know, do whatever, totally Idaho type stuff.
Yeah.
And then when I was about 7 or 8 years old, I got really into ice hockey. And I started playing competitively, started playing travel. And that really grew into a serious passion of mine. And I think that's one thing that really was a catalyst with entrepreneurship and my trajectory moving forward. It was very demanding, right? I mean, kids these days like club sports, like we've talked about this a lot, like time consuming. You're at practices, you know, you've got games for travel hockey. You know, we're traveling places, Salt Lake, Portland, Seattle, down to California, you know, almost every other weekend as you get older. And it just really got me in the mindset, in the mode of like moving and always working and still, you know, doing school during the week, but then having practices at night. And I got to a point with that where I'd have practices, you know, a couple mornings a week at 5 a.m. for one team, and then I'd have practices in the evenings for another team and maybe another evening for another team. So there's a couple years when I was about 12, 13 years old where I played on 3 different teams. I played on the Bora High School team. I played on a house league team, and I played on a travel team all at the same time. And so that's when I really got good, like really good. Because I was playing every day, and not very many kids, especially around here, have that opportunity.
Yeah.
And I was able to play for some outstanding teams around here. Many of my teammates would leave and go play for more serious, bigger teams that will get you into, playing college and pros and all that stuff. So really, really cool. It was like, the experience of a lifetime for sure. But then when I hit about 17, 18, I was going to kind of take that next step, play juniors, get into some, big league teams outside of town. And I really just hit burnout like super bad. At that point, I had dropped all other sports years prior. And hockey was like my life for several years up until the summer before I turned 18. And I was just honestly kind of sick of being injured. I loved the gym. I loved working out. That's one of the big reasons why I was a dominant player, was because I was physically much more capable than other players, especially hockey players are not known for being stout. They're fast. Hand-eye coordination is second to none in any other sport, but they don't look like linebackers. Mm-hmm. And so I remember one day I was at a big selection camp for junior teams where tons of players go and scouts watch and all that stuff. And I was doing well, but I was dealing with some nagging injuries at the time. I remember one of the coaches walked in and he's like, number such and such, which was my number, like you wanted to meet me or talk to me or whatever. And he's like, you don't look like a hockey player. I was like, oh yeah, why is that? And I was like, big, way bigger than most 17-year-old hockey players. And I was like, yeah, I guess I kind of started enjoying lifting and, fitness more than the actual playing of the sport that I had originally started training for.
Yeah.
And so I pivoted really quick. I decided not to sign with any teams. I decided last minute, I, went on and registered for Boise State. I'm like, well, I don't really want to go travel and play hockey on the team right now. So I'm just going to go to school and maybe I'll sign with a college team later on. Who knows? Right. So I started going to Boise State and gave hockey a rest and got really into lifting, like trained. That's what my schedule revolved around, spending, at least 2 hours a day in the gym, which some people, oh, that's excessive. It's really not. You're not lifting hard the whole time. But I didn't know exactly what I was doing, but I had a pretty good idea. I was really well read at the time and just went for it. And then about 6 months later, after my first semester of college, I was lifting in it was actually one of the local gyms here, the Park Center. Now it's Axiom, or I don't know what business they changed. Is that Fa? Not awesome. It's Bill of Sport. Yeah, okay. Right. But anyway, that used to be Gold's at the time. It was then an Axiom, and I was talking to this guy down there, and he's like, you're looking pretty good. You're like, are you going to compete? And I'm like, no, like Jay Cutler compete?
Yeah.
Mr. Olympia? Like, no, like I'm like half that size. He's like, no, like, are you natural? And I'm like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm like, dude, I just turned 18 years old. He's like, you need to go talk to this guy. And I'm like, okay. What? He's like, this guy, he's a great local coach for natural bodybuilders. Like, you need to go talk to him. I'm like, all right. So there was a local bodybuilding show in May. It's called the Northwest Natural. And so I'm like, oh, maybe I could do that, So I went and I talked to this guy. His name's Craig Toth. And he was a coach. He had worked in gyms, his whole life, basically. He was in his 40s at the time. And I went and met with him. He's like, dude, you have awesome potential. Like, you need to jump into the show. Like, basically this is what I do. I train people to compete. Like, you should do it. And he was like, jacked. The dude had some of the biggest natural arms you'd ever see, like massive. I was like, all right, well, this guy must kind of at least know what he's talking about. Like, looks the part.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I signed up with him, started training for this bodybuilding show, and about halfway through prep, this is probably like January of 2008 at this point. About halfway to the show, I was like, man, this stuff is really cool, like really fascinating. Watching changes weekly in my body, seeing, a different vein pop up in my arm on a weekly basis. Like, I'm like, there is like really something to this. And at the time I was going to college to go into medicine. I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon or something to that regard, because my parents had both my mom was a surgical tech. My dad did essentially medical-esque type sales, like home health sales when I was growing up. And so they had always talked super highly of physicians. And so I'm like, hey, doctors seem to make really good money. They're smart. I think I'm pretty smart. Like, I did really well in school. I learned really quickly. I'm like, this is a good path for me. And then when I kind of hit that point, I'm like, man, this bodybuilding stuff, like, there's really something to it. Like, why didn't I know about all of this stuff, like, all along? Like, not the, like, oh, take all these supplements and, train insane or remain the same type of philosophy. But like, I was doing very basic stuff and really dialing in my nutrition. And I was seeing changes that I'd never seen as quickly before, which is typical of a fat loss phase into a show. But it's like, for a, 18-year-old first time, like, seeing all this, I'm like, dude, why do more people not know about this? Like, this could help a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so, much to my dad's dismay, I changed my major. And I went from a biology pre-med major to an exercise physiology major, which honestly is very, very similar.
Yeah.
And I told my dad, I'm like, I think I want to be I want to be a trainer. And my dad's like, that's a horrible idea. Like, you should not do that. Like, why are you doing that?
You're throwing your life away, son.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's exactly it. That was like, and
You have so much potential. You can go be
100%. You nailed that conversation. That was the talk. And my dad is like the most easygoing, nicest human being on the planet. He doesn't say two words bad about anybody. I always tell people, like, if my dad says something even slightly off color about a person, like, they're probably a horrible person. Yes, he does not, but and he'd never really yelled at me before, but man, we were screaming at each other, like, not full, like, Jerry Springer mode or anything. He was like very upset with the fact that his son was, like, he felt ruining his life. So, ruining your life. You're never going to be able to, like, basically he was thinking, great, I'm going to be supporting this kid for the rest of his life type of deal. And, but, seeing what I've seen now about myself and understanding, like, I'm sure you're very much so the same way, like, a little bit thick-headed and stubborn. You kind of have to be an entrepreneur.
What would give you that idea, Eric? What would give you that idea in the least?
Exactly. So I'm going to make my own decisions. And that was the decision that I had already made, right? So I kind of got started training, changed my major in school, like I said, and started walking that path. Started working for the guy that had been my trainer. And then fast forward to, I became more of a partner with him. And when we moved training studios, and we just had a tiny little hole in the wall. It was maybe 1,400 square feet, maybe.
Wow.
Just, had everything that you really needed. Not everything, but it had, we had barbells, it had Smith machine, leg press, dumbbells, leg extension, leg curl, a couple pieces of cardio, some cables. We eventually got a T-bar row. Like, it was basic, but it was kind of home. And that's kind of where my journey really started. At that point in time, it was around 2010. I'd competed in a roughly 3 to 5 bodybuilding shows a year. So I'd competed a ton, which, hindsight's always 2020. Shouldn't have done that through prime growth years for myself in terms of the bodybuilding career. But I'd met my wife in 2010. And yeah, we were ripping, like competing. She started competing. I was training people, growing a personal training business. And it kind of got to a point to where I was kind of teetering on a ledge because I was so busy. Finished school, got my ex-phys degree, learned a ton. I was a sponge, right? I was applying everything I learned in school instantaneously. So all of the knowledge stuck. I think that's one of the most important things when you're learning something. Use what you're learning. Go teach somebody else, right? And that's what I did. And so I just learned and absorbed all of these very complex, physiological processes, the biochem. I had like all the amino acid structures memorized. I had all the metabolic pathways memorized. Well, not all, there's a ton, but most of the relevant ones memorized. Like I had all this textbook knowledge that I was immediately able to apply. And working on growing my personal training business, I got a job at bodybuilding.com, not the website, but the retail store while I was in college, because the guys saw me compete and they're like, oh, you should come. We need somebody for a few hours on the weekends in the store. Yeah. Okay. What the heck. Right. And what I didn't realize fully at the time was that was a huge tool that I used in the future and still use now, because I learned how to talk to people, because I was shoved in a store where people would come and talk to me and ask me questions and I had to be friendly. And I was not the most extroverted person growing up at all.
Interesting. Because you're extremely extroverted now, right? Like, or at least like, I mean, obviously you and I are buddies and train together, but I see you talking to people all day long, every day, right? Like a huge part of your business is talking to people, building relationships.
Yep. And that was the moment in time where it clicked, and I was like, wow, this is how you do it.
This is the cheat code.
This is the cheat code. Because growing up, my dad, one of my uncles would call and he'd be like, here, answer the phone. It's Uncle Sean. Here, answer the phone. It's Uncle Bert. My dad has 7 older brothers and they're all awesome. And I'm still super close with pretty much all of them. Great people. I'm like, dude, no, I don't want to, I'm like, what do I say? And he's like, just answer it. I'm like, hi. Yeah. And so I never had that like gift of gab. And my dad was in sales. Like my dad's phenomenal. He can talk to anybody, and I never could. And so that job at bodybuilding.com, I just thought, hey, I'll make a couple extra bucks on the weekends, get good deals on supplements, get ahead a little bit in that way. But the most valuable thing that I got out of that experience was learning how to talk to people and talk to anyone. And so, one of my favorite movies is Tommy Boy. And, the whole saying of your dad could sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves.
Love it.
I use that analogy all the time.
You and me both, man. I literally use that at least once a week. Yeah.
It's one of my favorites. And anyway, so it's like all of these little pieces, the hockey background, playing very high level competitive sports as a young lad, and then moving up to an education at Boise State, learning some of the technical aspects, how research is conducted, all of those nitty gritty things, and then learning people skills, and then getting hands-on experience competing myself in bodybuilding, manipulating my body composition, training, all of that stuff. It had a natural kind of come together into being a good trainer, being a good coach, and understanding how to get clients, how to retain clients, all of that. And so, when we talked before the podcast, it's like, how do you get started with something like that? Well, I was just a, 22-year-old kid that had a ton of life experience in a very narrow avenue, and not a ton of like workforce experience. I hadn't gone and had to, graduate college and go find a job, like do all the typical things. But in terms of how do you get into entrepreneurship, get really, really, really good at something that you're passionate about. And the passion is key, because if you don't have the passion, it's not going to stick. But if you make it a quest to become the absolute best at what you do, then that is what will lead you to avenues. And so to forge all that together, I built my training clientele up to, I think at one point I was training like over 100 people. It was like 120, 130 individuals.
Wow.
Both between, that's when online training was kind of coming up, and in person. So I was working, I eventually, this is probably 2013, I quit my job at bodybuilding.com. They had talked me into working more of a pseudo full-time position. So I was working that job probably 30 to 35 hours a week. And then I was training clients probably 70 hours a week. So I was training early and late and kind of working in the middle of the day. And so I dropped off the bodybuilding.com job and went full on into just training my clients because I need more time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had more people coming to me that I knew what to do with. I'm like, man. And then, so the guy I was partners with was very casual. Like, he would train maybe 5 people a day. Maybe he would work out for a really long time. He was content. He was a professional natural bodybuilder. Like, he was good with where he was at. Right. And I was like, dude, we gotta do something. And so he said, well, like, okay, kind of just not.
In terms of like, we need a new facility, we need someone to train at.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, we got to upgrade here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm slammed busy. Like, we got to hire more people, like trainers that I can, give clients to and teach them how to do this. And, I wasn't necessarily thinking like a gym at this point, but I'm like, something's got to give, because at that point I was working, I don't even know how many hours, but I was training
100 plus hours a week. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, which was great. I loved it, but I'm like, this is not sustainable.
Yeah.
Like, I'm starting at 5 a.m. and I'm not getting out of here till 8 p.m.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yep.
I can do it for a time, but too much. So then, we discovered that the Fitness Factory was trying to sell. And I'm like, dude, you should buy this Idaho Fitness Factory. They had 4 locations at the time. Craig had experience running gyms. I'm like, dude, this would be perfect. And so he had a brother that had money that were like, hey, let's see if like they were selling it for like $1.2 million, which to me at the time was a boatload of money.
Yeah.
I had just graduated college. And luckily, because I worked my butt off, I didn't have any debt. But anyway, so we got into talks with them, and I quickly discovered that it was not a good partnership for me.
Just in terms of the direction that you wanted to go and the direction that he wanted to go, or what did you feel like?
Yeah, I feel like we were really tight at that point. Like, he was a groomsman in my wedding. We got along great, but he was more of a friend. We got along well, but when it came to business and where I was trying to stretch to, he was content. Yeah. I just found out really quick that it was me that was pushing this to happen.
Yeah.
And at that point, he was not on board, really. He was on board because he wanted the upside to it.
For sure.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
But I didn't want to put all of this work in to have a partner that was like, useless, basically. Yeah. Not that he was useless, but it just was not a good fit.
Yeah.
So the Fitness Factory deal for us did not go through.
What year would this have been approximately?
Probably 2014.
Okay.
At this point. Yeah. And so I had been going hard trying to like expand our opportunities, save money, like do all the things.
So were you training at the time?
It was called Peak Performance, private, little teeny private studio.
Okay. So you're training all your clients there?
All my clients at this little studio. It was just me and my partner, and it was mainly me. I was there all the time.
Yeah.
And so when the Fitness Factory thing fell through, I was like, I gotta just pony up and do this myself. Like I gotta figure out a way to make it happen. So I learned how to do performas. I learned how to do all of the back end business stuff, file LLCs, do all of that business. And then saving money, right? Cause I'm like, I know this is going to be, it's going to cost me.
Yep.
Regardless. So anyway, fast forward, one of my clients his dad was in the commercial real estate at the time. And I'm like, hey, ask your dad if he knows of anywhere that this is a client. Actually, I was training to compete. I'm like, hey, ask your dad if he knows of any commercial spots that would be available for gyms. And so he called him, and his dad called me that day. He's like, hey, actually, there's a old Body Renew location out in Meridian that's about 8,500 square feet that was a gym that would be perfect. I'm like, sweet, let's see it, So from that point forward, basically went to see that gym. I'd already started kind of collecting some equipment. And I put together a whole business plan, a whole performa, like did all of the back end work for starting bootstrapping a business, essentially, and made that happen. Just all by myself, essentially. It was like staying up all night long on the computer, running figures, typing out letters, and it was basically like negotiating and advocating for the fact that, hey, like I know I'm at this point, I was 24. Like I know I'm a 24-year-old kid that like all I've done is personal train professionally, really. But here's my clientele, and I promise you that I can make this happen. So
you check out the space, you end up leasing it.
Yep.
You're collecting equipment. How are you buying equipment? Like you're just finding stuff online, you're Craigslist or whatever, just like trying to like find equipment, or did you have some sort of in somewhere?
I would.
And how did you and how did you raise the funds to be able to do that? I think a lot of people that reach out to me and they're like, hey, how do I get a business started? Right? Like there's a few ways to fund an initial startup. Number one, you get someone to invest in you, right? Sometimes it's friends or family, someone's willing to kind of give you a loan that you're going to pay back, or you can go get, financing through a bank or something like that. If you have institutional lending, if you have, some sort of backing or collateral that they feel comfortable loaning against, you can go get investors that want to stay on board permanently and they want the upside of the business, which is where, the business plan, the pro formas, things like that. People come to me with opportunities and say, hey, I want to start this business. Here's what this looks like. And so for a relatively small investment up front, you can say, hey, I'm going to bet on this guy and I'm going to go invest $10,000 with him, which may go to zero, or it may end up being a huge win and his business turns into a 7-figure business for me. And I own 50% of it because I gave him 10 grand up front and invested in him and bet on him and helped him get going. And so taking on investors, taking on a loan, or just bootstrapping it yourself, right? Like you're just raising the money, you're just scrapping and clawing and saving and doing whatever you can do. Which one of those paths did you go down?
So I did a little bit of both.
Okay.
So for equipment, you can get a loan on that. So because it's collateral.
Yeah.
Right? So I was able to do that, which I had to fund that myself, right? As you know, if you bought a car, bought a house, anything, like even if you get money from somewhere, you still have to have a down payment.
Yeah.
So essentially when I did this, it was basically, all the money I'd been able to save up and,
you're bootstrapping for the down payment and then just getting a bunch of gear that you're going to have to make payments on.
Getting equipment. So I had lists of equipment, everything specific. Even at that time, I was super specific on exactly what I wanted, what pieces from what companies. And I had a list of like, this is what I need and this is what it's going to take cost wise. So I was able to go through some bank funding for the equipment part of that because you can collateralize it essentially. And then for everything else, this is where it kind of comes down to being really good at what you do. you can do a few different things through that avenue. If you know people that are investors, then you can talk to them. In my case, I pre-sold some of my services.
Yep.
And that was essentially enough.
Which is a creative way that I think not enough entrepreneurs look at that opportunity. So pre-selling services, a lot of times people will, if you're providing some sort of service where people will pay 50% down and then the other 50% once they get their product or service. And then that way it helps you to be able to fund what it takes to be able to get there. In your case, personal training, where maybe you pre-sell someone months worth of training or years worth of training or something, they get a discount on it, but then that puts you in a cash flow positive situation where have the cash up front, which enables you to go buy equipment or pay down payment on a lease or whatever. So you go pre-sell some of those things. Like, you're finding creative solutions to be able to get this thing off the ground.
Yeah. And you have to be trustworthy and reliable for that. Like, people aren't going to pay you for a year's worth of services if you're flaky.
Yep.
Right. So anyway, that I essentially did the bare minimum that I could do to essentially scrape it out and get it started. And a lot of it was, being trusted by the people that I was talking to with, like, bank and things like that. Like, you're not going to get funding if they look at your situation and they're like, yeah, this is not going to be cash flow positive for a long time, and you don't have enough cash in reserves. Like, we don't see cash flow, we don't see X, Y, and Z, right? So I was essentially, betting all of my entire livelihood on that. And what we worked out.
So not only that you were going to be able to get enough clients to come in and train with you, but I'm guessing as part of that was, I'm going to get people to sign up for memberships to come use the gym. Whether or not they're getting personal training, they're going to sign up for memberships. So I'm going to have a subscription set up in place. And then I'm guessing you're going to hire other trainers too. They're going to come and use the space, and you are making X percentage off of every hour of training that they're performing for other people.
Exactly. Yep. And that was, in a, basic sense, that was the business model, essentially. Using my training business to essentially fund an entire operation. Yeah. Which is a scary thought. Like, you go from, before I opened any sort of gym, it was, man, my overhead was under $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
Like, hardly anything.
Yep.
To, signing a lease that's a, $10,000+ lease that, now I have to come up with $10,000 a month just to be able to operate my business.
Yep.
And, by the way, you have to hire employees to clean, to potentially sell memberships, to manage the other people that are doing all of those things. So, I essentially created all of our systems, all of our processes, all of our procedures over time, and continued to change them over time as we grew, as we had more demand.
Because your set of problems changes when you're brand new starting out versus when you've been in business for 5 years and you have, a couple dozen employees or whatever. The problems in a business change. And so what would have been a standard operating procedure, maybe in one location or with 2 employees, now needs to be a different, SOP based on having a lot of employees, having managers, having, kind of a hierarchy in your company structure. I think as you're talking about your path to get here, right? That every entrepreneur, everyone that I meet with or talk with or coach or mentor, everyone's path is in a way similar, where you can see, like, looking back on this now, what kind of looked like individual dots eventually kind of like turns itself into this mosaic of, like, this was the painting all along.
Right.
And it was just sort of, it took the form of hockey here, training here, getting originally into biology and pre-med, which eventually, turned into ex-phys. And then, just all these different dots that kind of created this mosaic of entrepreneurship for you. I think that story is in a way like what everyone in your eyes position looks like, right? It's like, I joke and tell people all the time, like, I would have been a really crappy employee for someone, right? Like,
Yeah.
I was just not built that way.
Yep.
And, you know, same thing is true with you, right? Like, there's some of us that are just built to say, you know, I want to bet on myself. I want to invest in these things. Like, I would rather stay up all night building out a pro forma and a business plan. I would rather go have those meetings and figure out how to finance something, figure out how to make something work, or scrap or claw or bootstrap something together, come up with creative ways of pre-selling services to get funding in to be able to put this together, rather than be working somewhere forever where someone tells me when I can and can't leave or go to something, or when I can or can't go to lunch, or when I can or can't, you know, do whatever.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that as an entrepreneur, you end up working far more hours. I mean, guaranteed you work far
For
more
sure.
hours for yourself than you would for somebody else, but it's your decision.
Yeah.
And so my wife gives me a hard time about that frequently. That, you know, I work too much. Yeah, it's, you know, that's constantly, I'm sure, a common thread with many business owners, because there's things that need done, and all of it's self-induced, but it still needs done.
Yeah. And you see this vision of what you want to create, and you're focused on creating that. And in the process of creating it, yeah, you know that, hey, for time, it's going to take me working 15-hour days. And this isn't sustainable forever, but it's necessary right now. And putting in that time so that, hey, when my kids get to this age, I can be able to coach their hockey teams. I can be able to go out of town with them. I can be able to be at their stuff, or take them to school, or do the other things that I want to do. And I'm not locked in somewhere else. So I'm willing to endure discomfort for a time, whether that's, you know, taking home a way lower, you know, wage in what I'm paying myself than what I could go get out in the market. I'm working way more hours than I would be otherwise, but I'm doing it because I'm building something that I know is ultimately going to pay me to own it, right? And I tell people all the time that investing in assets that pay you to own them is the best investment you'll ever make. Whether that's a business, whether that's a piece of real estate, whether that, like, whatever that looks like, but figuring out a way to multiply yourself, to multiply your efforts, and something that makes you money when you're not there and when you're not working, right? Something that is paying you to be the owner of it. And, you know, you figure that out at a relatively young age, where it's like, if I own the facility and all these other people are using it, they're paying me to use my facility. They're paying me to train at my facility. Like, even though these people aren't taking 1 second of my time, I'm making money off of this. And so, you know,
I think what it really boils down to for me then and now to a degree is figuring out that, you know, investing in other people and helping other people. And like, there's certainly times where I get into this like deeply philosophical view of like owning a gym and what that means. And like, to some people, it's like, yeah, bro, like, you own a gym. Like, it's a place where meatheads go to work out, especially Mecca. But there, we have a very much so like a meathead type of stigma, which is not necessarily accurate. But it definitely is in parts of it for sure. But, you know, when I take that deeply philosophical stance, it's, you know, me looking at it from the perspective of, hey, like, I'm doing my part to help society because I believe so much in what I do, and the knowledge and information that I'm able to give people in order to help them. I'm doing my part to make our society a healthier place and to give people a purpose, to give people a passion, to make people healthy. You know, even going as far as saying like, hey, like, society as a whole, like, our mission is to help cut down on our healthcare costs, right? Like, that's what we're doing, because exercise is medicine, right?
Yeah.
So we're, you know, solving the, you know, type 2 diabetes, the high blood pressure, all of the, I mean, the obesity problem is so widespread. Like, the stats for that, and I look at them periodically, they're insane. Like, even for kids, it's like, I think the last time I looked, it was like 40 or 50% of kids now are considered overweight or obese, or just obese. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Like, if you look up the statistics for that, it's mind blowing. Like, I'm in shock of it. And so in my mind, that's a huge mission, right? We are enhancing public health. We are bringing people to fitness, right? Similar to how you would bring people to religion. Like, faith is important, fitness is important, health is important. Like, if you don't have your health, you're not going to have anything.
Yeah.
Right. So keeping that as a cornerstone, and that being a part of like my core values, my mission is to make everybody around me a healthier human being.
Love it. Because, so much of our society does not act that way. And I saw this meme a while back that said something effective. If your obese doctor doesn't ask you about what your diet, sleep, and exercise look like, and they only write you a prescription, you don't have a doctor, you have a drug dealer.
Exactly.
And I could not agree with that more, right? Like, if I need a surgery on something, I have surgeons, physicians I work with. For my general health, absolutely not, right? Like, the idea that, hey, we're going to put you on some medication that you're going to need. Like, I'm a firm believer that eating well, getting good sleep, exercising well, getting sunlight, like just overall being smart in how you take care of your body will solve most problems that people are going to have.
Yep, absolutely. And I feel like I saw that from a really young age when I made that transition from wanting to go into medicine to seeing what, training correctly, eating correctly, and all that, albeit for a bodybuilding show. Like, people don't understand, like, the path to a bodybuilding stage is very similar to a path from, going to out of shape, not exercising, to being healthy, being fit, right? Because you're just taking things to an extreme, taking things to another level, but the journey is very similar. But seeing, from a young age that, yeah, I could be a doctor, and yeah, I could help people because of course they need their bones fixed. They need, doctors. I love doctors. I'm tons of them as friends, tons of them as clients. We train a ton of people in the medical community. I don't want to talk poorly about them. However, every profession, every person needs to be very real about their limitations. And we train, and I train a lot of physicians for a reason, because I have an expertise that is not included in their schooling. Yeah. Right. They're usually very intelligent. They have a great knowledge base and skill set with a specific avenue, and that's very necessary. And I respect them greatly. However, this is different. And as a coach, as a trainer, as a gym owner, as a person that does, at least I try and do my best at spreading good fitness information, that's going to touch more people than just seeing people in a clinic and saying, oh, well, your BMI is a little high, pal, so we need to, make some changes, or, whatever other thing. Yeah. Right. So the way that I saw it is I can impact a far greater number of people for good by, taking this training route and steering people in the right path, because a lot of people don't necessarily need the medicine path, right? They don't need the high blood pressure meds. They don't need the doctor giving them whatever prescription. What they need is, like you said, the basics.
Yeah.
Let's fix the basics. You don't need to go on, all the rage right now is these hormone clinics.
Yeah.
Right. Which, don't get me wrong, like, there's absolutely a place for that. However, if you have not first corrected your lifestyle habits, like consuming alcohol or smoking, less people smoke now, thankfully, but it's still a problem, right? If you haven't vaping, yeah. If you haven't corrected those issues, if you haven't corrected your lack of sleep issues, if you haven't started exercising rigorously and frequently, and if you haven't started, eating correctly, or at least what you feel is correctly, or found help in order to teach you how to do those things, then you don't belong in a pharmacy.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be at the pharmacy, because most of those problems, like you say, are corrected by the simple, basic things. The problem is with, society as a whole, and this is like, beaten to death, but people just wanting the quick pill, right? You want a pill to fix whatever and not put the work in for it. And that's the same thing with entrepreneurs, right? People watching this podcast, asking you questions. I get some of them, but I mean, not necessarily a ton. I get asked more questions about how do I get abs?
Yeah.
They're hoping that you're going to tell them something that's like the doctor writing a script, right? For whatever pill, right? They're hoping, hey, what's it like? Cam's going to give me the secret.
Yep.
Right. It's like all the people you have, successful people on the podcast, like they're going to give me the secret. It's like, well, it can be the penultimate step towards a kickoff. But the thing that is talked about a lot that's overlooked is the amount of commitment and work and dedication and hours and all of the time and energy that you put into fueling your goals.
Yep. Being willing to do all the things that everyone else is not.
Whatever it
Right.
is.
Hey, Chris, really quickly, do we need to reset these cameras? Yep. Okay. Perfect. No, like by virtue of wanting to be the 1%, you are going to have to do the things that the 99 aren't willing to do, right? Like whether that's in doing your homework and doing your preparation and having the conversations that other people aren't willing to do, in working the 15-hour days, in betting your whole life savings on yourself and finding creative ways to find funding or coming up with ways to pre-sell services in order to get money. Like in order to be different than everyone else, you have to be willing to be different than everyone else. And that's the part that so many people overlook, is they want to have security, right? They're willing to sacrifice their top end opportunity for safety and security and health insurance and a retirement program and all those kinds of things, right? Like, I mean, I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My parents had started a business when I was really, really young. Like, it wasn't until my youngest brother, I'm the second oldest, 5 kids, like all the rest of us were born in a birthing center with midwives, right? Like my parents didn't have a physician there. They didn't have health insurance. I mean, I'd been to see the doctor like 2 or 3 times growing up as a kid. Like we just didn't go do things like that because it was, my parents started a business. We didn't have health insurance. They weren't like, oh yeah, hey, my dad works a corporate 9 to 5 somewhere and we value our health insurance and my dad's monthly salary and their 401k. It's, hey, like I'm betting on myself because I believe that I have a 7, 8, 9 figure business here that I can go grow, and I'm going to bet on myself. And guess what? Like, I don't need a 401k. I'm going to go build a really sweet business that's going to pay me a ton of money to own it, and that there's going to be tons of opportunities that are going to come as a result of that. So I don't need the 40-hour work week. I'm willing to work my guts out for years in something that I don't know is ever going to pay me back, but I have a really, really almost delusional belief in myself that no matter what happens, I'm going to be able to figure it out.
You almost have to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's, we talk about confidence a lot, and just having self-confidence, but it really does come down to like a bit of delusion.
Yeah.
Which that you have to have. I mean, it's just like, you can compare it to a lot of different things, but athletics is an easy analogy, right? It's like you look at the best players, you have to believe in yourself or else you're not going to be the Kobe Bryants.
Yep.
You're not going to be the Wayne Gretzky's. You're just not.
Yeah. And when you look at Kobe Bryant as a 17-year-old, right, there's the legendary story of they're playing the Utah Jazz in the Western Conference Finals. He's a 17-year-old rookie and games going down to the wire, and he wants to take the last shots, right? Like Shaq didn't want to take the shots and no one else on the team wanted to take the shots. So as a 17-year-old rookie, he's like, yeah, I'll take the shots. Air balls 4 in a row, right? Everyone was right on line. They were just short. And he's like, as I studied that out, I was just too weak. I wasn't strong enough. It was the end of the game. We're in this playoff run. I was tired. My legs were gone. My form was great. My shot was right on line. I was just too weak. It's like, I knew I could go fix that, but I was willing to take the shots when other people weren't. And obviously, like, that paid off, right? That mentality, that almost delusional belief in himself that, like, hey, I'm 17 years old, but I'm playing with, 5 Hall of Famers on the court right now, and I'm the one that's willing to take the shot, right? And so having that type of belief in yourself where no matter what you're starting, right? You're starting a tech company, you're starting a construction business, you're starting a gym, you're starting a landscaping company, you're starting whatever it is that you're starting, having this belief that, okay, I'm competing with all these other people. Some of them may be Hall of Famers, some of them may be novices, but I believe that I have a greater ability to figure this out than other people do. And I'm not going to stop until I do, right? Like, I believe that I'm going to go figure things out better than anyone else is.
And that's totally true. And like the old saying, it's not it's not about the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog.
Yep.
If you refuse to stop and roll over, then you will get to a point to where you have mastery in some regard.
Yep.
If you refuse to quit. And so I think that's a really good lesson to learn in sports growing up. And that's why many, many good athletes or pro athletes end up being successful entrepreneurs, is because sports teaches that a lot.
100%.
Refusal to give up. Like, you're down in the fourth quarter, right? You also figure out really quickly who's a gamer.
Yep.
Right? Who shows up under pressure. Real quickly who shows up to practice, and when the stakes aren't high, they seem like wizards.
Yep.
And then you show up to the big game and they're average at best.
Yep.
And the gamers, the guys that have that mentality, the higher the stakes, the higher the level of the play.
Yep.
And that shows itself with business, like, because it's never stress-free.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how big your company gets. It doesn't matter, how much money you've made. It's like more money, bigger decisions.
The higher the stakes.
The higher the stakes.
Yep.
Like, it just gets better.
Yeah, because now all of a sudden your stakes aren't, hey, I'm 24 years old and it's my $3,000 that I have saved up that I'm going all in on, which at the time feels like everything and it is, but it's like, okay, well, if that went to nothing, you can recover and you're going to be okay, right? At some point it's, hey, I've got $1 million, $10 million, $50 million, $100 million of my own money or equity things in things. And it's like the stakes are just higher, right? But like, no matter how much money you're making or where you're at, like, you always have risk. Like, that's what people get paid on. You get paid on your network, you get paid on your skill set, and you get paid on your ability to take risk. And smart people they take risks that are calculated, right? They understand the stakes, they understand the variables. And the more of those things that they can control, the more likely the risk is mitigated, right? They're taking strategic risks, right? Like, I was teaching my son, I don't know, probably a year ago, how to play blackjack, and just understanding the mathematical probabilities of what is going to happen, right? Like, what percentage of cards are an 8 and higher? What percentage of cards have been dealt? What the statistical probability is of the next card that's going to come out of what you're going to get. What cards do you see? What cards do you have? What is the probability that the next card coming out is going to put you over or is going to put someone else over, right? And if you just play the odds enough times, you're going to win more often than you're going to lose. And smart entrepreneurs don't take reckless risks, right? You take risks, but they're all calculated. And you understand, you've done your homework, you've done the pro forms, like, oh, hey, I'm really passionate about opening a gym, so I'm going to go open a gym, and I love it, I'm passionate about it, but I don't know why it didn't work out, and the gym closed down, and the equipment's now leaving. And you see that all the time, right? You see gyms pop up all the time, and they come and they go, but it's like, well, did that person really understand what they're doing? Did they really do their homework? Did they really build out a business plan and a pro forma to understand, okay, here's what I have to charge.
Right.
Here's how many hours need to be trained by trainers in order to make this work. Here's how many subscriptions I have to have of people in order to be able to make this work. And then they go fight for that.
Yeah. And with gyms specifically, it's pretty unique in a regard, because it's not like you see a ton of people that are like, I want to own a landscaping company. They don't. It's just less common, right?
Yeah.
And you could say that about a lot of different businesses. Gyms are, for whatever reason, it's something that's appealing to a lot of different people, because a lot of people enjoy working out, and a lot of people find a lot of, passion with working out. And there's, consequently, there's quite a few trainers out there. And a lot of people want to get into that fitness world. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that, people like working out. They like fitness, which, as they should.
They like the way they feel.
They like the way they feel. They want everybody to feel that way. They're not always great at connecting that with like entrepreneurship or business. And then, there's a multitude of reasons why people would want to open their own gym, obviously. But I would say, generally speaking, a lot of people are like, oh, I like fitness, and I can make money getting other people into the door. They don't see I'm going to have to fix the toilets because somebody broke the toilet, or like, they don't necessarily see those little things that you have to manage as a part of a normal company, right? They think it's, going to be all fun and games, and they can make money because it's a membership based business. And, if I get 100 members or whatever the number is, then I'm cash flow positive, and, then I can afford to live my life, and, then I can just hang out at the gym all the time.
Yeah.
I think that's a very big misconception. And still people are like, you own a gym? Oh yeah. You must get a workout.
Must be nice. Yeah.
Must be nice. Yeah. And it's like, well, yeah, I could, and I could also not work at all and, be fine. But that's not the point. The point is sticking to your mission, sticking to your passion, and serving your people, and trying to make a bigger mark on society than just, hey, I have this cool spot and, I can afford to pay my rent. It's like, that's not it.
My personal values don't allow me to be content, right? Like, my personal values push me to always becoming a better version of myself, which subsequently my business, my influence, my connections are constantly going to be growing and developing. Therefore, like, I can't sit still because it's in contradiction to what my personal values are, right? I want to help as many people as possible. I want to make as big of a positive impact in the world as possible. And in so doing, that forces me to have to get up every day and to show up and to be better and to learn and to grow and to develop. And so, no, I totally hear that. So I do want to get through talking about a little bit of the evolution of your business, that as your business grew, right? Like, we talked a lot about kind of the preparation, what brought you to entrepreneurship, starting, scrapping out, bootstrapping it, getting a loan, buying equipment, getting your first lease. So you moved into your first space. This is what, 2014, 2015, 2015, you move into your first space. How long were you there for? What did that growth period look like? What were kind of some of the struggles and obstacles you had to overcome there? And then ultimately moving into your new facility where you're at on Eagle Road. I guess it's not super new anymore, but you've been there for a few years now. Talk about that growth. And then as your companies continue to grow, where you ran into bottlenecks, what sorts of things did you have to implement, hiring general manager, hiring other people in these other places to enable the company to continue to grow and to allow you to separate from some of those.
Yeah, I think, we were at our first location for about 7 years. And then we've been at our current spot for about a little over 3 now. But as we've grown, it was always finding the right person for the right seat. And I think that's in a lot of different models that, business coaching models. So
100%.
it's a very, very important thing. And I think that that's something that we continued to grow and get better at. And as we grew, that's, a big key in allowing us to continue to grow.
What did you feel like fueled that growth?
I think the fuel for the growth was honestly our passion and the way that we took care of our customers.
Okay.
Providing a unique service, and continuing on our path and following our mission, right? We care, we're there. We draw people into us because we're passionate about what we do. And that really, really separates us from the rest of the pack, right? Like I said, I don't have to be there, but I'm there every day, almost all day, every day, because I'm driven to be. I'm passionate about it. I want our business to have as big of an impact as possible. And that really fueled our trajectory, being able to hire, good trainers over the years, and some are good and some are not. And, you're going to find people that you think are great and it ends up not being a great situation. And so learning what's a good fit, what's not. And, trainers specifically can be a very transient career, can be people that, just you end up having issues with. So, getting better at the hiring process. And then as we're able to grow, opening up more spots for people that are better than I am at doing a specific task, right? I think that's a huge, huge key, right? We talk about right butt, right seat, but, really what you should be doing is finding somebody for a particular job that can do a better job than you can at that particular job. And so over time, being able to do that, being able to increase revenue so that we can create new positions and constantly reinvest into the business. Just reinvest. So finding, better people, and then just more of them, right? Specifically with management staff, specifically with, personal trainers, and then continue to invest in the business of, okay, we're not satisfied with where we're at. We want better this, we want better that. We want to make the facility, we want to make the experience the best possible facility for everyone. And as revenue increases, we're going to keep growing and keep that progress moving.
And I say this all the time to people, there's only two ways to grow your business, right? You have to either grow in the number of products and services that you offer, and or you have to grow in the number of people that you offer them to. And so growing your influence in how many people are we able to reach, and in what products and services can we offer them, right? Does someone only come in and they just buy a membership and that's it? Or do they have a membership and they're getting training and they're getting, massage therapy and they're getting, whatever other products and services it is that they may be taking advantage of, but constantly finding ways to improve your business. And as a small business owner, when you're first starting out, you have to wear every hat, right? Like you're the one unlocking the gym. You're the one cleaning it. You're the one doing the training. You're the one writing the SOPs and selling memberships and doing the social media marketing and whatever. Like you have to do every role. Like that's how all businesses have to start. And that's how you become profitable, is that you're doing the job of 10 people. And as you're doing that job of 10 people, man, the business is making a lot of money on a per capita basis because you're not paying employees to do all those jobs. But over time, in order for the company to grow, you have to start getting rid of some of those things, right? And maybe at first you hire someone to, okay, hey, you're going to clean the bathrooms, you're going to sell memberships, you're going to unlock and lock up, whatever, right? And so you're delegating some of those roles and responsibilities, and then the company continues to grow. And I think a common misconception of entrepreneurs is that they think that, hey, I read these books or I hear people talk about on podcasts, you got to delegate, and leaders, a CEO only does 3 things. And if I'm going to do these things and I got to be the big boss, it's like, no, actually, like you got to go grind it out for like 5 to 10 years, depending on what your business is. You got to go grind it out for 5 to 10 years where you're wearing a lot of different hats, right? In your case and in mine, like you're getting a formal education. You're adopting what you know immediately into your business. you're wearing all these different hats, you're growing a skill set in different things, but you have your one key skill set that you're a like global expert in, right? Like you're one of the foremost authorities. Like you have to become so good at what you do that you're arguably the best on the planet of what you do. So you're developing that, but simultaneously you have to grow all these other skill sets. And it's not to say that those skill sets are invaluable, because they're important, because they help you to then identify good people, right? Like if you understand the basics of what it takes to do the marketing for your business, then you're better equipped to help hire that right person that can then go take your business to the next level in that regard. But, a necessary step in that is you doing those things yourself, like you cleaning the toilets, you selling the memberships, you writing the SOPs, you managing the other people. And that's an important step that like can't be skipped over. Like I don't know anyone in any successful business that's, started or scaled any successful business that didn't have to go through that step of wearing all the different hats. But then eventually you got to go start giving those hats away.
Got it.
And that's where people start to struggle, right? Is they gain the skill set of, hey, I can do all these different things. But during that time, you don't own your business owns you. And eventually you have to get to the point to where you grow your revenue enough to where now the business can sustain taking other people on. And it almost kind of becomes, hey, the business is wildly profitable because I'm doing 10 people's jobs, to all of a sudden I start hiring more people and the business isn't as profitable initially. But then as they're able to integrate, they're able to do all these things better, I'm able to focus on what I do best, that then the business, comes in. It's almost kind of like this constant ebb and flow, where as you start delegating more things away, hiring people, allowing or investing in specializing, right? Like I'm sure, your profitability on your balance sheet and income statement probably looked like it plummeted when you moved into your new facility, right? Yeah. Your rent costs are way more, right? Like, you're buying all this equipment, you're hiring more staff, you're doing all these things. So on paper, it looks like, man, like Eric's running this thing into the ground, but it's an investment, right? It's an investment in your business again. And you don't just invest one time initially. Right. Being an entrepreneur and owning a business kind of forces you to have to invest over and over and over again.
100%. Yeah. No, that's what we've done over and over again. It's, now delegation, giving people the opportunity to shine. I'm definitely the type of boss where I'll give people enough rope to hang themselves with. I want to see what people can do. I want to see what ideas they have, and I want to see their skill set, and right now I'm very fortunate to have an awesome team, from management to marketing to, training director, training staff, like, we have a good culture, and that's what has made the biggest difference, is getting people that fit your culture.
100%.
So,
well, someone had asked me a few years ago, I was in another state, and they're like, so like I follow you on social media, and I said, like, what is it with this Mecca Gym that you go to, right? Like, what's so unique about it? I'm like, look, I've been a part of a lot of different gyms over the years, and the thing that's different about Mecca is the culture. And you almost can't even like put your finger on it. It's difficult to describe in words unless someone comes and experiences it. But it's like, it's just different. Like the way that people are, the attitudes, like the way that like people are supportive and happy, and like the vibe. And I think that, that's a credit to you and the culture that you have built in your business. That's what a leader does, right? A leader sets the vision and helps build and manage the culture, and you protect that, because everything else can be delegated, right? Yeah. But an organization takes on the personality of its leader. And if its leader isn't setting that vision, doesn't maintain those standards, doesn't hold people accountable, right, it's leadership that's in place and then, funneling down. If you don't have that in place, your culture fades, and eventually you should become a transactional business, of which there will always be someone that's willing to do the same thing for cheaper.
That's exactly it. We've talked about, the concern for like other gyms growing in the valley and fitness spreading in the valley and all that stuff. Honestly, I think that's great. I think that I want everybody to be involved in fitness to a degree. I think that far too few of people have a real passion for fitness in the right way. And I'm not saying like, I'm not hating on any one group or type of fitness. But what we do is unique in a way because we are so focused on each and every individual and their own journey to success. And I feel like a lot of gyms go wrong with like having ego involved with that. I'm like, oh, like you can't be better than me because I'm the best. And it's like, no, I want Cam Wheeler to be better than me. Like it's my personal mission to make everybody I talk to, everybody I touch, like get ahead of me. Like I want you to achieve your goals just as bad as I want to achieve my own, right? I genuinely want that for every person. So when it comes to, culture and the vibe, and then competing with other gyms in the area, it's that I know that we are unique. We have a niche, and it's not that that niche doesn't exist in other places, but I know the effort and the effort that we put into other people in order to, help them succeed in their mission. And that's not a very common thing.
Yeah.
And honestly, like if you're talking about like an Axiom or like a Lifetime Fitness that's coming here, like I think Lifetime coming here is great for us, honestly. And I've heard murmurs from my staff and just other people in the community, friends of mine that ask me like, oh, are you, worried about Lifetime coming here? And it's like, I mean, you can never be completely like, not like, I wonder like that, I guess that could negatively impact us, but that's really not the viewpoint that I take. In my mind, that's leading more people into a healthy, fitness-driven lifestyle.
For sure.
And I know that we are the best at what we do. I believe that. Like, otherwise I wouldn't be here.
Yep.
Otherwise I wouldn't own a gym.
Yep.
And I know that eventually those gyms being around is going to lead people to us.
Yep.
Because they're going to max out what they're able to do at a Lifetime, and they're going to want guidance from somebody like me that's a subject matter expert in maximizing your health, maximizing your fitness level, or getting into competing in a various realm of different things, whether it be, rec league sports, whether it be triathlons, whether it be bodybuilding, whether it be, you name it, right? So we offer something unique, and that is the knowledge to be able to utilize all the other facilities to their max potential, right?
It kind of reminds me of a few years ago. I have a friend that much older than me, but someone I look as a friend or a mentor that owned a local lumberyard. And as we were talking about business and going through and talking about like things that I was trying to learn from them and vice versa. And one of the things he said to me was, he's like, we were scared to death when the big box stores first started coming here in like the late 90s, early 2000s, right? The Home Depots, the Lowe's, the stores like that. And he's like, and the thing that we quickly found out is that was the best thing that ever happened to our business. Yep. By those stores coming here, it created and pushed, and some of it even like HGTV and all this obsession with home improvement, do it yourself, the internet, giving people tools and resources to be able to research how to do things. He's like, all of a sudden, like we were busier than we'd ever been. We were selling more than we'd ever sold, stuff that we sold at a much lower margin. We found out that these big box stores charge double or triple for it than we do. So it's like, oh, okay, we can make healthy margins on this stuff and we can sell it all day long and people are coming in our doors. And he's like, honestly, like our revenues and our profitability went nowhere but up by them coming here. And I thought that was an interesting perspective. And, when I share the same thing is the more people that are inclined to fitness or inclined to like whatever your particular, right? Like if you're the only guy hanging permanent Christmas lights or whatever, right? and hey, 5 other companies show up that are now doing permanent Christmas lights. It's like, guess what's happening? The demand for permanent Christmas lights is increasing, right? And so it's not like, oh, hey, I should be afraid. It's like, you should look at it that every time they're going and doing a job, they're creating opportunities for you to go sell more customers, because no one knows who went and did that. All they know is, hey, their neighbors have permanent Christmas lights. They look amazing. They can turn them on anytime they want, any color they want. You know, I'm just using this as some obscure example. But now all of a sudden, like, all those other people on that street all became potential clients of yours, right? Your competitors are now marketing for you, right? And that belief, that abundance mindset is so valuable to anyone that owns a business or wants to own a business, that if you are so focused on what other people are doing, you are never going to become the best at what you do. But if you look at all of your competitors as almost like marketers for you, that by them trying to grow the market, that you can focus on being the best at what you do, and ultimately their efforts are going to indirectly come back and benefit you.
And that's exactly how I feel about it, quite frankly. And it's not to say that any other, gym, or if you're talking different industry, like, it's not to say that anybody's bad per se, but as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, like, you have to understand who you are and what you sell better than anything.
Yep.
And if you understand what people need and you fulfill that need better than your competitors, then you should not have to worry about longevity.
Yeah. Invest in yourself, invest in what you know, build your network, invest in your business, invest in your knowledge, improving yourself. And you're always going to have plenty of opportunities ahead of you, right? Like, there is no shortage of ideas. Like, there are graveyards full of great ideas. There's graveyards full of great businesses. And the only shortage is there's a shortage of people that are willing to go execute those things. And so I was visiting with this kid the other day, and I just told him, like, look, you can take pretty much any business and you should be able to go turn it into a business that can go generate over $1 million a year. Like, I don't care what it is. Like, you could go take literally any business. I mean, I was listening to a clip the other day of the guys that started 1-800-diapers, right? Like, these dudes are going to Costco's, buying out every box of diapers that Costco had. And they're storing them in their garage. Like, all they're doing is going and buying them, buying out all the Costco's, and then selling them online. Pretty soon the Costco is like, hey, you can't just like show up and buy out all of our stuff. They're like, yeah, we can. And they're like, no, like, you gotta quit like taking all of our stock. So like, find out the days that it would show up, and they're just going and buying it all out. They're like, hey, we'll call this company and tell them to sell it to us direct, because like, they just like hired people in, a bunch of different areas. Pretty soon they're going and buying out every diaper at every Costco at like 60 different Costco's. And they can't keep any in stock. They can't sell any to their customers. So they basically use that as leverage to say, hey, regional manager from Costco, you call these guys and tell them to sell to us direct, and we'll quit buying out all your diapers from all of your locations. So they did it, right? Like, that's how they parlayed it. They were storing them in one dude's garage. Pretty soon they got to go buy a facility. And then pretty soon, right, they turn it into a 9-figure business selling diapers. Right. But it's like, you can go take any business. I don't care whether you're cleaning houses, whether you're selling bottles of water, you're selling diapers or fitness or anything in between. You can go take anything and you can go turn it into a business that's going to pay you really well. Right.
Liquid, that's a great example.
Yeah.
All market. You're selling water.
Yeah.
Selling water in a can.
Yep.
I mean, it is good tasting water.
But that's it.
I literally bought it like ground zero because I'm a sucker for I like good marketing. I respect the hustle.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
Kill your thirst, right? Like, how crafty is that? Now, granted, I'm not like a loyal customer, buy it all the time, but like, that's very unique.
You can go make anything work, right? Like, if you're willing,
sell water.
Yeah, you can sell ketchup popsicles to ladies in white gloves, right? No, love it. Well, Eric, thank you for joining us. This has been awesome. It's been super informative. Hopefully anyone listening, watching can be, I guess, maybe renewed in their resolve or have their eyes opened to anyone can start a business at any stage that you're at, right? Like, you can go start a business with no money. You can go start a business, with no investors. You can go start a business with, you don't have to have something some opportunity right in front of you, that simply by being passionate about something, working hard at something, gaining expertise in something, you can go make it happen.
Absolutely.
If you had one last piece of advice that you were going to share with your 18-year-old self, what would that be?
Oh man. I would definitely emphasize the point that I made in investing in other people. Your network is your net worth, right? It's a really popular phrase that gets tossed around a lot. And that's one of those that gets tossed around a lot for a good reason. Like, be a good person, be loyal, be honest, and really try and provide value to those around you and take care of your people. But you will have success if you put enough work into it, guaranteed.
No, love it. Last thing I want to hit on, you're not only entrepreneur, gym owner, fitness enthusiast, but you're a husband, you're a father. Talk about Casey and your boys really quick, and the importance of being a father, being a husband, and the role that that's played in not only your life, but in your business as well.
Yeah. I mean, having a spouse that is supportive is a non-negotiable for an entrepreneur. Otherwise that relationship's not going to last long. So, she's been immensely supportive over the years.
Casey's a rock star.
She's amazing.
Shout out to Casey.
Allows me to really do what I do. Like, people say it all the time, like, I wouldn't be able to do what I do without my wife. It's like, that's like legitimately true.
Yeah.
So you have to have that person who's supportive when you have a bad day, that you can go home and, because all of us that own businesses are not these like hard-nosed robots, Yeah, there's an element of, like we talked about, like confidence and having, some delusion in your beliefs and abilities, but oftentimes those delusions come from your spouse. Yeah. And I think she's believed in me more than I've believed in myself over the years. And that's really accurate. And what I'll say about my boys is that, number one, they are what is best in Casey and I, like 100%. But the part of the reason why I even pushed myself to go as far as I did in starting the gym, because it was not easy, was because we found out that we were pregnant with our first little guy, and at this point we didn't even know it was a little guy, and a little gal or a little guy.
Yeah.
But we, surprise, found out that Casey was pregnant. We'd been married like, a little over a year or almost a year at this point. Found out that we had a little guy coming, and that was all other bets were off, man. So that was a big catalyst to, I need to quit messing around.
Yep.
And like move on with my life and make a life that can support, not only my wife, but multiple children. I would have like 6 more kids if Casey was down. So maybe everybody can nudge her towards more babies. But for now, we just got the 2 little ones.
There you go. Well, there's a reason why the highest earning demographic in American society is married men with children, 100%. Right? Like, you earn more than any other demographic, and it's not even close because of that. And I don't think that this is wrong to say, right? This is not anti-feminist or anything, that God made us in a way so that we have particular roles, and women have an ability to love and to nurture, and to be empathetic, to understand people's pains in a way that men can't. And men have an ability and a proclivity to want to provide and to protect and to look out for and to provide opportunities for the people they care about and others, right? And so taking those natural strengths that we have is the reason why men are driven to want to earn more, to take bigger risks, to almost like have those senses heightened in your abilities to go focus, to go work hard, to go take mitigated risks, but to do that in a way because you're concerned about providing for your wife and for your children.
Could not be more accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a driving force like nothing else to know that you're responsible for other people's lives that you love and care about. And, you know, as a man, you should, you know, feel like that deep down, like almost guttural, you can't even describe that desire to make sure that you are providing for those people that you're responsible for, your family. And so it's a huge driver. It's a huge driver. But again, you know, thinking long term, you know, having the forethought to build a business or build a life where, yes, it's important for those kids to see your passion for what you do. I don't think that you should be home all the time with them. As much as you want to spend time with them, you have to have separation. Your kids need to be able to see you be passionate and work towards something or multiple things.
Love it.
You have to have your own passions. Your passions cannot just be your children. You know, my boys and Casey are the absolute most important things to me, and it's not even close, right? But part of making them into the young men that they are going to be is them watching me sacrifice and watching me set an example for them, and then have enough time to teach them along the way. Like, Dad can't be home all the time. I can't pick you up from school every day.
Yep.
But they see the effort, and it's designing a life that you are capable to be present and to be there enough, and hopefully more than enough. But it's also important for them to see the grind.
Yep.
To shape them.
How are they ever going to learn how to go slay dragons in their life if they never see their dad doing it?
Right? 100%. Like, you got to lead them in the battle.
Yep.
You know, you just have to. And that's the most important lesson of leadership, right? Like, you cannot lead from the back, just cracking orders, right? If I tell my kids run every morning. My kids do push-ups and sit-ups every morning. It's a non-negotiable. They get up, they make their own breakfast, they run, they do push-ups, they do sit-ups every morning. Why is that not an argument? Because they look at mom and dad and they're like, that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Like, you want to be somebody that your kids want to be like. They don't need to be you, but you need to inspire them to be the best version of themselves. And that's what I try to do as a father.
Love it. Can't think of a better way to end than on that. Eric, appreciate you. Thank you for being here.
Dude, thanks for having me. I love it. Great setup. You're the best. Literally, Cam's the best. Watch the 1% podcast.
Love it. Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
That was awesome. Awesome. Excuse me. You're the man.
No. I get to just sit here and ask questions to people, and you're the one that gets to